Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are live for another edition of NASCAR 06 Total Team Control on the channel. And today we've got another Busch Series race for you on the Do It for Dale series. Actually, let me adjust the title. I just realized this title is not correct. I did not get home that soon. It is not a doubleheader. We do not have time for that. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, no doubleheader today. Well, welcome everybody to the stream. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We're going to get into tonight's coverage very quickly here. Already just wrapped up qualifying. Our driver Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be starting on the pole for tonight's race at the Richmond Raceway. And so we are going to get set for action. Dale Jr. trying to go for the Richmond sweep. He did win at Richmond earlier on in the season, so this is a good track for him, and honestly one of my best racetracks on this game. We did just run the Truck Series race at Richmond last night on the channel. Ended up finishing in second place. It was a real close one. Good race for the most part for Ryan Hornaday. Just didn't quite have the long run truck at the end. There was just that one caution about the midway point. We'll see how many yellows we'll get in today's race. It does seem like the Busch Series in this game have more yellows than any of the other series, but we'll see how that plays out. Coming in off an 8-caution race back at the California Speedway, and not the greatest finish a couple nights ago, or actually last night as well, for Dale Earnhardt Jr. finished in the 13th place position. We'll see how everything will go for himself today. Needs a good points day. He's 252 points behind points leader Clint Boyer. Both Boyer and Dale Jr. tied for the lead with the most wins in the Busch Series season with 8 apiece. We'll see if one of them will get 9 tonight. Chicagoland, Earl Arnold Jr., Stress, Wade Selinsky, NASCAR Fan 88, and we've got, of course, the fake Jimmy Johnson in the chat as well. Dale Jr. did qualify on the pole once again. He did tighten the car up, setup-wise, so it's not as edgy as what it was in qualifying. Hopefully the setup will be good for the race. Green flag is going to be in the air, and we are underway. 250 laps of action. Dale Jr. leads the field down into turn 1. Trying to get out on top in the early going. Derek Booth, welcome into the stream as well. Kyle Busch going up the racetrack, kind of overdriving turns 1 and 2 just a bit. Dale Jr. is going to lead lap 1 at Richmond. 5 bonus points. He led just 1 lap in the last race at California en route to that 13th place finish. Needs a strong performance today. Needs to hope that Clint Boyer does not lead any laps. And right now, Boyer, after starting at least in 3rd, maybe even 5th place, I think Kyle Busch might have started 3rd. So Clint Boyer from the 5th starting spot already up to 2nd in just 2 laps. He's gained 4 positions. All clear off turn 4. Looks like Mark Truex Jr. battling to the inside as well. A lot of straightaway speed on the front stretch that time for Dale Jr. Noah Hall, welcome into the stream as well. Home from a fancy dinner, all right. So the original plan was to do the online lobby tonight, but I also did state, at least in last night's stream, that today was my birthday, and I wasn't sure exactly how things were going to go. Well, my dad ended up getting off of work a little bit later, so we didn't go out to eat quite as soon, but wanted to take me out, so we did that. Got back home. I've been home for a little over an hour, but I had to get a workout in still today, so I did that. And because I have to work tomorrow morning at my full-time job, that is why we're not doing the online lobby tonight. We're starting about a half hour later, so I want to give you guys an online lobby where we can actually race for a good hour and a half at least, and I would not be able to do that today, so hopefully this race doesn't take overly long. It's just 250 laps on a 3/4 mile short track, so it should be a fairly quick one, and it should be wrapped up in less than an hour and a half tonight. And we'll get you guys out of here well before 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Dark Crypto, welcome into the stream as well. Yep. Today I turned 23. 23 years young. I'm still in my prime. Or so they say. Dale Jr. slowly pulling away from the rest of the field right now. He's able to really keep that low exit to turn 4 especially. Turns 1 and 2, not bad either. Boyer in 2nd place. Mark Truex Jr., who's 3rd in points, is sitting 3rd as well. Truex coming in off a top 5 at California. Led some laps as well late in that race. His late race restarts to not pan out, though, for himself. And Clint Boyer was able to steal the win away from Carl Edwards in the late going on those late restarts. Had a few big wrecks there at the end of the race. Junior's got the track position today, though, and he's looking to keep his nose clean throughout. They will catch lap traffic if we get long enough green flag runs, of course, as well. Those adjustment changes, though, for qualifying to the race seem to be working out for Dale Jr., at least while he's got clean air and no traffic around him. We'll see as he gets into dirty air how the car will handle. Hopefully it's not going to be too tight with making the car a little bit tighter. It felt a little too edgy in qualifying, but it was quick enough to grab the pole for one lap. And we saw that he had an edgy car at California yesterday, which was good enough for the pole, but once he got 20 to 30 laps plus into the run, that car was all over the place with how loose it was. Yeah, just the one race. I accidentally had the doubleheader in the chat. I was thinking if I would have gotten home soon enough, I would have done that, but I forgot to update the title, so my bad on that one. I didn't even realize I had that in the title until I started the stream, unfortunately. Yeah, Noah Gragson running full-time with Petty GMS in the 42 car next season. Cup Series. I'm interested to see how he'll do full-time in the Cup side. He ran really well at Michigan this last weekend before he got in that wreck. Just past the halfway point in the race. Got a slow car heading towards turns 3 and 4 trying to get to pit road. It's one of the fantasy drivers as the 119 car has blown an engine. Dale Jr. already out to a 1.7 second lead over Clint Boyer, and Boyer's starting to put a few car lengths now back to Truex in third as well. We saw Hornaday slip up on the long green flag run at the end of the race yesterday. Dale Jr. is just going to hope he has long run speed in the car today and long run handling. Doesn't have to worry about trying to hang on for dear life like he did at the end of the runs at California. Kind of random vibe. Well, I will say I didn't even really I think I might have mentioned last week that my birthday was today, but up until like the end of the stream yesterday, or the last like remaining laps of the Richmond truck race yesterday, I didn't really mention that my birthday was coming up. Kind of a bit quiet about it. It's not something I really like glorify, I guess. A lot of people probably don't. I mean, there's still some people that'll like call off of work. I had scheduled off today anyway because I usually am off on Thursdays. If I ever pick up a shift, I'll pick up a Thursday. I wasn't going to pick up today, but I was scheduled off, so it's kind of a coincidental thing. This is, I believe, the first year in maybe ever since I started working when I was 16 that I've actually had off on my birthday. Usually I get scheduled on my birthday. I know last year for a fact I worked on my birthday. Get to do it for Dale. Welcome into the stream. Do with the Mountain Dew. If we had a Mountain Dew paint scheme, I would totally title the series that way, rather than the normal Dew. Start working at a webcasting crew where you live. Awesome. Hopefully you like it. Ninja Warrior, welcome to the stream. Thanks for the happy birthday wish. Nearly double my age. I don't consider that old, though. I don't consider 40s old. I mean, if you live a healthy enough life, you know, later in your later years especially, I mean, you're like maybe not even halfway there yet. Halfway through it, so I don't consider that old at all. And that kind of changes, I feel like, as you get older, because I feel like when I was a kid, I used to think like 40, 50 years old was old, but now that I'm like, even before I got my 20s, really when I was like in my teens, I was like, you know what, I don't really consider anybody old until, like, old for me is like, I feel like 60s. I mean, you're only as old as you feel. I do believe that. Like, you can be in great shape if you're 60 and probably don't feel like you're 60. I'm sure there are people out there like that. That's what I strive to be and hope to be when I'm at that point. Parents are 59 and 48. Yeah, my parents are relatively young. Well, my dad was my age. He had me and my sister already. That tells you anything. I don't have any kids. Nor do I really plan to have a kid anytime soon. Dale Jr. is walking away with it. Only 24 laps in. He's got a 3.2 second lead. We saw Hornaday have a really fast short run truck yesterday, but Dale Jr. has nailed the setup. That's kind of the disadvantage with running the Truck Series races before the Busch and the Cup side. That's probably why we're a little bit better in the Busch and the Cup Series, is because we have laps of experience, at least in some vehicle, at this track in this game on the same race weekend. And we kind of struggle usually the first race of the race weekend I run. Maybe you have to start running those Truck Series races, you know, later, run like the Busch and the Cup side before. Try to help it out a little bit more. So right now, Ron Horday's got the biggest gap of the top 3 series that we have of trying to catch the points leader right now. And we also have less races to go in that season compared to the other 2. Billy Carjoy, welcome into the stream. Daughter loves the streams, that's awesome. I know you say that a lot, but I still appreciate it. I know I say that a lot to a lot of you guys that I appreciate it, but I really do. Especially on a late night like tonight where, you know, I don't expect us to get the numbers, but I still wanted to stream. So I like doing it. I like giving you guys the content. You guys enjoy it. When you guys enjoy it, I enjoy it. And it's still practice for the future, of course. Dale Jr. is going to get to lap traffic pretty rapidly, and he can actually start to take his time to get through lap cars as well, depending on how big of a lead he is going to have when he gets there. Going to alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today. About half a dozen laps. The big story, though, for the end of this season is, will Clint Boyer be able to finish all of the races this year? If he can just finish races, especially on the lead lap, he's going to have a pretty much guaranteed shot of winning the championship. Dale Jr. is going to have to be on his very best these final 8 races, obviously including tonight, if he's going to want to win the championship, and at all costs needs to make sure that Clint Boyer does not lead any laps, because it may come down to a couple positions at the end of the Homestead race in a few weeks, and those bonus points can really, really come into play. Talk about points pretty much all season for that matter, how important it is to lead laps and be up towards the front of the field as much as you possibly can, not just in the hopes that you can hopefully lead the most laps, but to take away potential bonus points from anybody else who you could end up running against in the late going into the season for the championship, like Clint Boyer so far this season. And Boyer's just, I mean, over the course of the year, he has obviously deserved this title. He has been heads and shoulders ahead of the rest of the field. But in this season-long points format, it goes to show, even without a playoff format, that a late-season charge out of this 81, or even the 8 of Truex, who isn't that far behind in third, compared to Dale Jr. as well, that these 2 Chance 2 Motorsport cars could still catch Boyer before the end of the year, especially if Boyer fails to finish one of these races. Just one. They'll be right there. For instance, today, a DNF out of Clint Boyer and Dale Jr. gets a max points day if Boyer doesn't lead a lap. You're talking that points lead being down under 100 points going into the final 7 races. Jr. could definitely run him down that way. Might need to punt Boyer on the way. I will think about it. But I don't want to do it in the middle of a race because I force myself to run clean, so if I bring out a caution, I'll have to put myself at the back on the restart. Martel Antoine, welcome to the stream. Eyes of the Eagles, welcome to the stream. Now, 10 likes so far. Be sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. And again, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. 36 laps in out of 250. Junior's let him off to the pole. He's 5.2 seconds ahead of Boyer in second. And Truex in third. You can look on the track map on the upper right-hand corner of the screen and see that not only Dale Jr. is catching the lap traffic and has a big gap over second, but even the gap that second and third are putting over fourth and the rest of the field on back, quite substantial as well. And I would definitely say that the three favorites are definitely Dale Jr., Clint Boyer, Martin Truex Jr., who again are the top three in points, all trying to put their best performances together here at the end of the season. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't even think Martin Truex Jr. has won a race yet this season. He's had an extremely consistent year even without any wins. And he is still a championship contender. I'm sure those Cup Series lap times are definitely helping him out with him running full season in the Cup side on this game as well. For China, welcome to the stream. 6.1 second lead as Dale Jr.'s just got to the back of the lap cars, and he did get a bit tight in turns 3 and 4, had to brake a little more than usual to keep the car on the bottom that time. Boyer was a couple tenths quicker in 3 and 4 alone. But now that lap car going to move up to the outside, so Jr.'s able to get his car to turn and get a tenth of a second back that time in 1 and 2. He is willing to be very patient, try to get around these cars as cleanly as he possibly can. There's a long way still to go in this race, over 200 laps left. And he has lapped his first car of the evening. Michael Turner, welcome to the stream. Keegan McPants, welcome to the stream. We're all 20. Man, we got a few 23-year-olds. Driving it in pretty flat in 1 and 2. Actually got it to stick. He had side-by-side lap traffic in front of him. He was just basically trying to find a way to get as much clean air on his car as possible. Gets a nice drive off turn 4, 3 wide. The hope is that he's not going to be 3 wide by the time he enters turn 1. And he will not be. He'll be all clear of any car, in fact. So that worked out fine. 3 wide for the first time today from what we saw, and there was no contact anywhere on the track. Contact, saw some sparks flying off the exit of turn 2. A lot of grip in this 81 car. It's going to be borderline one-stop race today. It's going to be interesting to see if it's going to be a 1 or 2 stopper. We'll have a better idea of it whenever Dale Jr. hits halfway out of fuel. Underneath another car currently. Still kind of pulling away in the process of passing cars. Junior hasn't gotten in the wall yet, 45 laps. He also hasn't made contact with another car. Now I know he just got to lap traffic a few laps ago. Qualifying on the pole helped with that, getting that good launch off the start. And right as I said something, there's a little contact with the first car today. Nothing major. In fact, it kind of helped as a bump and run, I guess. A little rub and run. It's amazing how much grip this car has off corner exit. 3 wide, middle of turns 1 and 2. Junior backing out of the gas, wanting no part of it. Trying to put together a smart race today. When you have this big of a lead, you can really afford to do that. One car up the track overdriving turns 3 and 4 now. We'll lose a spot or 2 off of turn 4. We'll take our first field pass of the race today when we get back to the start-finish line this time. Martin Truex Jr. still back in the 3rd place position currently, as he's trying to run down Clint Boyer in the 2 car who's right in front of him. They're about 7 seconds off the race leader. Can Truex get around Boyer? Looking really low all the way through 3 and 4. Off the exit of the corner, really low exit as well. Truex going to drive it in deep into turn 1. All over the back of Boyer. Heading towards turn 3. Truex is there. Side by side for second place, and we'll go back to Dale Jr. for now. Truex down low had that advantage going towards turn 1. Truex is trying to put the bumper to Boyer there a couple times. 6.1 second lead for Earnhardt. Parents getting back together, that's pretty cool. How long were they apart for? Out of curiosity. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. I was just trying to expand on the conversation a little more. Big dive. Thought that car right in front of Earnhardt was going to try to go 3 wide going into the corner. Junior was able to make that work, but not on corner entry. It was on corner exit, and he was able to clear them by the time he got into turn 1. And one time he was in a 3 wide predicament. 21.364 that last lap for Dale Jr. Good handling car, and it's a fast one at that. It's already about a third of a track ahead of second. The more cars he puts a lap down before a potential first caution, the better as well. Just in case things get crazy on fuel and pit strategy later in this race. Separated for about 10 years, wow. There's a lot of room for error there, but Junior kept it clean. 137 definitely ran him pretty tight. Earnhardt still making passes over 7.5 seconds now ahead of second place. I think the way this is going, this is Dale Jr.'s race to lose tonight. Trying to pick up that 9th win of the season. And find a way to cut that points deficit down. He was only 191 back going in to California a race ago, and now it's 252 back. Lost 61 points in one race to the points leader. Because Boyer not only won, but also led the most laps, scoring a max points day of 190 points, where Junior did lead one lap, luckily. It was lap 2 after he qualified on the pole. Boyer kind of shuffled him on a line. He never really got back, and now somebody just blew an engine on the front stretch. One of the lap cars just dropped out of line right behind Dale Jr., so he's trying to limp his way into turns 1 and 2. We're at lap 60 currently. Dale Jr. just hit halfway on fuel, so that means it's likely going to be a 2 pit stop race today. So a 2-stop race is going to be the strat. Dale Jr. right in line behind Kenny Wallace, who's a rival after getting involved in a wreck last race. Lap car down on the bottom. Jr. went wide just to miss him. Out of a safety precaution there. He has almost an 8-second lead on second place, so he can really afford to take his time behind Kenny Wallace. Try to figure out a way to get around him. Wallace is likely going to take a swing at Dale Jr. regardless. Jr.'s definitely going to want to hang on to his race car. Good news is we're on a short track, so it's not like it's a faster racetrack. He might be able to keep control. Get Kenny Wallace going down the block right now. There's a major block. Also going to drive to the inside of Michael Jourdain Jr. Going to make a pass. And he will pass Jourdain for a spot. It looks like Mark Martin's the next car that Kenny Wallace is trying to pass. For this Cup Series regular back in the field. Wallace with that low line into turns 1 and 2. Hits his marks. Junior getting a little tight in that dirty air. Moving up in line behind Martin. Stavros O'Brien, welcome to the stream. Well, this might be the best opportunity for Dale Jr. to get by Kenny Wallace. Not quite 3 wide, though, into turn 1. But that is because Junior clears not only Mark Martin, but also the 22 of Kenny Wallace. Martin just held up the 22 car enough, and Junior was able to keep it so low off turn 4 and stay away from the 22 car that he's able to pass it clean. There was no contact between the two. And the only reason they are rivals is because Kenny Wallace got in a wreck with Dale Jr. in one of the late accidents Junior was involved in at California in the last race. And it wasn't even started with either one of the two drivers. It was started in the 137 trying to pull up and make a block on Dale Jr. off turn 4, and he turned himself into Wallace, who was outside of both of them, as they were 3 wide at the time. Should have let your parents meet your... Hey, by all means. It's just... I don't know if weird's the right word or not. But I'm just not used to, you know, people knowing me without me knowing them. Because I wouldn't say I'm famous by any means. That's not... That's that would not be true. I would not consider that. But I guess just being a somewhat of a public figure that, you know, you guys watch my content and just being a content creator, it's weird for people coming up to me. It's definitely something that I'll get used to, I'm sure, over time. It's just kind of uncanny because I'm not used to it. I mean, Wade, you're literally only the second person that's ever noticed me because of the YouTube channel. At one of these racetracks or in public or anywhere. I'd like to meet more of you guys for sure. All you that come here on a nightly and, you know, somewhat often basis seem like nice people. Mark DeMars, welcome into the stream. I think that definitely comes from a place too, just like last summer. We only had a couple hundred subscribers, and I was running into some NASCAR YouTubers at the tracks I was going to, and, you know, they had no clue at the time, or even likely still now, that I even have a YouTube channel, that I exist outside of, you know, just being a regular NASCAR fan. So it's weird when I meet them and say hello, and then you guys are meeting me saying hello. Kind of doing the same thing. YouTuber and have over 100 or 1,000 subs. You're famous, it's that simple. I mean, by your standards, yeah. I don't know what my standards would be, though, too, for something like that. Definitely much better than California. Gonna need a DNF for Clint Boyer. Close the gap, though, yeah, likely. And Boyer was in second the last we know of, and likely still is. And even if he's not second, Truex is in second, Boyer's third. He's definitely having a good day going so far. And J.J. Yaley's arrival, he's fourth in points coming into this race. Case Kane about to go a lap down and does off of turn 2. Hoping maybe a caution comes out, the middle of green flag stops, and Boyer would have been one of the cars that pitted semi-early compared to the rest of the field and gets trapped a lap or two down. That could definitely help as well if you're Dale Jr. or really Truex, anybody else all the way back to 6th in the standings still has a good shot at the championship, but Boyer just has a DNF. Long ways to go still, 78 laps in, but the car's handling good even over halfway through the fuel and tire stint to start this race. Don't know if NASCAR is big in Europe, but here in Brazil we love it. Awesome. Yeah, I don't really, with American sports in general, you don't really think of how many people watch all over the world. And I think the NFL, for instance, reaching into London and playing games in London on an annual basis and breaking into that market and selling out games every time they go over there is really telling of how many people are able to watch American sports in other countries. You don't really realize the global magnitude of the Daytona 500, for instance, outside of the U.S., but I guarantee there is probably quite a few people outside the U.S. that watch the Daytona 500. A lot of them probably motorsport fans, but even if they're not motorsport fans. Outsider, welcome into the stream. Richmond is your favorite track. Bristol and Talladega had a baby. I don't think I've heard that reference before. Bristol, Talladega. I don't really see the Talladega resemblance. So the only thing I can think of Talladega-wise is that the start-finish line isn't directly in the middle of the front stretch like Talladega. It's kind of right off the exit of turn 4, but it's not quite in the middle. But Talladega is more towards turn 1, though, too. But both those tracks, it's not centered. Cincinnati Reds, Chicago Cubs are in Field of Dreams right now. Oh, right. Oh, are you talking about right now, or? That'd be cool to go to that game. It's the same week as the Knoxville Nationals, too. You can really go to both. I can go there, then I can go to the Knoxville Nationals the next couple nights after that. Drive a couple hours. That might be something I might look for next year, depending on what falls on the NASCAR schedule. Still has a lot of speed. Yeah, it's definitely a faster short track, just with it being longer than your average half mile or shorter short track. And the speed's even in these Busch Series cars right now for Dale Jr. He's consistently at 100 miles an hour. He's not really dropping below 100, even this late into the run. Got down to about 103 in the middle of the corner that time. And that time it went down to 98 for a split second and powers it right back up. In the high-speed area of the track is right on corner entry into turn 1 before he gets out of the gas. 138 miles an hour that time. Dale Jr. going to put Aaron Crocker a lap down. Jr.'s already over a half a lap ahead of second place in the first 100 laps of tonight's race entirely. If I was a guitar genius, that's a... By genius, do you just mean, like... I don't know, I mean... I'd love to play guitar, but knowing the songs I listen to and the songs I'd want to play that I listen to, it would take years for me to learn that stuff on a consistent basis. There's just so much work that goes into it, and I'm doing so much work on other stuff right now. Like, now is not the time. Like, maybe in the future, maybe, but it'd definitely be something I'd be, interested in trying. But when I try stuff like that, I try to put my full focus and effort into it, and I just don't have enough time on my hands to be able to do that right now. 38 car throwing a bit of a block on Dale Jr. in the backstretch heading towards turn 3. I forgot Bobby Labonte's a little upset with Dale Jr. as well. That was after contact Labonte had when he got tight in one of the corners and ran into Dale Jr. Ended up wrecking himself in the process. That was very early going to the California race. Bucket list NASCAR race, Daytona, Bristol for sure. Definitely got to get to those tracks. Bristol's going to be a lot more affordable than Daytona, I will say. Assuming you go to Daytona for the Daytona 500 at least, which I would recommend. And I would highly recommend trying to stay there all week if you can. Like, at least Thursday through Sunday, just to get the full experience of the speed weeks. Like, the tickets throughout the week won't cost as much, but once you get to Sunday at the 500, it'll be pretty cost-hefty. But Bristol, I mean, it's above a normal race as far as how much it costs to watch. But considering it's a short track, you don't have to sit as high to see the whole track either, so you can probably get away with tickets for like 70, 80 bucks and still have decent seats for Bristol. Oof, man, big lock of the brakes going into turn 3 that time for Earnhardt. Trying to get around the 33 car of Tony Stewart. It's on his outside entering turn 1. Junior will get around smoke. Billy Kramer, welcome into the stream. Dale Jr. looking underneath Bobby Labonte. I'm sure I could do it, I just know it would take a while. Buddy of mine started buying guitars. Man, this is probably like 3 or 4 years ago, and he's like just getting to the point now where he can somewhat play on a consistent basis. He can't play like a lot of the metalcore stuff I play, but he can at least like play. Well, I mean, he can to a certain extent, but like he can't like get through a whole song and nail it perfectly by any means. But he's definitely come a long way from what he couldn't play when he first started buying the stuff. But I know he practiced a lot, especially those first couple years too. They say usually the older you are when you start, the harder it is to learn it, or maybe as quickly to learn it. Just over 100 laps into the race, and we are about 20 or less laps away from green flag pit stops in tonight's race. We are still caution-free. We've only had one caution-free Busch Series race this season. It was at New Hampshire on a short track. 1/8 of a tank of fuel left for Dale Jr. That's all he has. Definitely wants to go as far as he can before pitting, just in case there is a caution in an odd spot. And because we are only 23 laps away from halfway, Dale Jr. is very close to clinching the most laps led. Definitely wants to stay out as long as possible for 2 reasons, though. Not only so he doesn't get trapped a lap down, but knowing Boyer's in either second or third likely right now, he doesn't want the opportunity for Boyer to lead a lap because he stays out a lap longer on fuel than Dale Jr. as well. All 4 tires in the yellow right now for Earnhardt's car. He's got more clean air in front of him, which will help. But just over a 15-second lead for Dale Jr. right now, and he has lapped a large majority of the field. Teach yourself piano up to... Yeah, and that's one thing, too, I've heard. Like, it's usually easier for people to pick up an instrument if they've already played another instrument. So that probably did go somewhat hand in hand, even though those 2 instruments aren't, you know, nearly the same. I think Carl Edwards is the next car Dale Jr. would have to catch, or at least the last car in the lead lap as of right now. before potential pit stops. Eric Clapton started playing at 18. I didn't even know that, honestly. I don't know, like, the behind-the-scenes stories on a lot of famous guitarists, to be completely honest. Outside of, like, the bands they were in, like, that's about it. The most I would know would be Metallica as far as, like, inside band stuff, but that's just because they're my favorite band. So I was, like, really getting into them. I was, like, really getting into them. Like, oh, okay, you know, who are these guys? What are they about? Outside of the music. Yep. Green flag pit stop starting up right now at lap 107. Few drivers on pit road. Martin Truex Jr. is into the pits from either second or third, so that means if Boyer has not hit pit road yet, he would definitely be the leader whenever Dale Jr. ends up pitting, unless Boyer pits before Earnhardt. .137 pulls onto pit road. One car just missed the pits and is down on the bottom of the racetrack. Still on the grass entering turn 1. Hits the inside wall and works his way back onto the track. It was a 116. And Dale Jr. will put Carl Edwards a lap down now, so Edwards in the free pass position. Let's see if the 116 tries to pit this time, and Carl Edwards goes up the hill, over driving turns 3 and 4. Cars exiting pit road down on the bottom of the racetrack. 103 slides up right in front of race leader Dale Jr. Edwards into pit that time. Lap 111 at the line for Dale Jr. He's got a 1-lap lead on the field, so everybody who was still on the lead lap was on pit road. Cautions out at lap 111, our first caution of the day, and Dale Jr. had lapped the field right before the yellow. One car into the tire barriers at the front of the pit road entrance has brought out the caution, and it was Michael Jourdain Jr. in the 10 car. He was right in line behind Eric Crocker, was just coming in a little too hot, barely missed Crocker's back bumper, and then slid into the barriers at the front of pit road. So Dale Jr. will pit under the caution for his first of 2 stops today. And no adjustments here, Ford tires and fuel. That was a timely yellow for Dale Jr. as he had a 1-lap lead on the field. And that is exactly why he stayed out as long as he could in case we'd see a caution in the middle of green flag stops, which, again, we tend to see a lot on this game. Not everybody hit pit road before the caution. I think there were some lap cars that still hadn't hit the pits yet, but they went a lap down before the stop started. Because Ryan Newman's in the pits right now currently as well. And we'll see who will get the free pass and get to line up on the lead lap as well. One car beats Dale Jr. out of the pit lane. It's 138. So there is one car right behind Dale Jr. on the outside for the restart that is back on the lead lap. And Clint Boyer will be the first car lap down on the restart at least. Green flag back in the air at Richmond. Dale Jr. underneath Clint Boyer, runs into the side of him, trying to keep Boyer a lap down. Didn't really work out. Jr. has to lift to keep it off the wall off turn 2, and he's still stuck on the outside with Kyle Busch underneath him, and now gets to the bottom in turn 3, right front of the 138, right behind Kyle Busch. I think Boyer might be 2 laps down and just got 1 lap back on the restart initially. So Dale Jr. has a lap lead on the field with that caution in the middle of green flag stops and has still led every lap so far today. Dad gets discount ticket? Is that for the Michigan race this last weekend? Yeah, that's pretty cool. That could be a game saver for some people that don't go to a lot of races, too. Dale Jr. underneath Kyle Busch. He'll make the pass for position. And he has now put Kyle Busch a lap down. And driving in deep into turns 3 and 4, trying to get to Clint Boyer. Oh, boy. 119 right now. Overdrove the corner trying to get to him, and Boyer gapped him a little bit. Junior's got the fastest car in the field, but now he's in traffic behind Boyer. Boyer has the clean air, so it might be the difference in the two car, at least trying to hold his own. Oh, because he's Warfit, gotcha. And veterans discount. The round with Boyer coming up. Yeah, Boyer is at least in second place. Or, I mean, I should say at least in third place. If not in second. And both Dale Jr. and Clint Boyer are really pulling away right now. Jr.'s really trying to get to Boyer's back bumper. Not trying to really turn him, but he does want to try to knock him sideways. Just hopefully he saves it. Junior all four tires down to the apron in 1 and 2. He's pushing just a little too hard right now. He's keeping it off the wall and keeping it clean. He's pushing too hard to get to him, that's all. Alternate through the different drivers one more time in today's race now, as we'll take over with Martin Truex Jr., who's in the 10th place position. Truex is 2 laps down currently. So Truex in 10th, 2 laps down. I wonder if that means Boyer's potentially in 8th. Patrick Shadley, welcome into the stream. That's pretty cool, by the way. No, I appreciate that. Hopefully, I mean, if they do see that, it would be pretty cool. Any Junior fans, really, that don't know about this channel. Of course, a lot of the Junior fans that know about this channel probably voted for him because Junior Nation won the polls in both the Busch and the Cup Series on this game for me to run as him. Try to win him his 3rd Xfinity/Busch Series championship on this current series, and then in the Cup Series side, trying to get him his first Cup title. So you guys allowed for me to do this series. Truex trying to get around Kyle Busch for position right now. Busch drives it in flat and really overdrives 3 and 4. Kyle Busch goes way up the racetrack, and Truex will get around him for 9th place. We'll go back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 81 car now. He's right in front of his teammate. And he's lost a little bit of ground to Boyer over the last couple laps. We are officially halfway home in tonight's race, and that means Dale Jr. has locked in the most laps led because he has led every lap from the pole so far, trying to go wire to wire tonight at Richmond. Time for tonight's trivia question on the channel and Richmond track fact. Who is the only driver in NASCAR history to win at Richmond in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in a Dodge? That is tonight's trivia question. Who is the only driver to win in a Dodge in NASCAR Xfinity Series history at Richmond? Just one driver has done it in the years that this series has raced at this track, which is insane if you think about it, considering the fact that Richmond's been on the Cup schedule for a really long time, obviously, even back when it was a half-mile track, but it's only been on the Busch Series, well, I should say it has been on the Busch Series schedule since its inception in the early 80s. But only one driver ever did it. Guys will have until lap 140 to get that question correct tonight. If nobody gets the question correct by lap 40, I will tell you guys the answer. And who is the only driver in Xfinity Series history to win in a Dodge at Richmond? Obviously refrain from trying to Google the answer. Not Johnny Sauter, not Casey Kane. Junior widening his arc out into turns 3 and 4 just a bit, at least on corner entry. Corner exit, not so much. Holds really low. Boyer going all the way down the track, trying to block right now. Boyer overdrives turns 1 and 2. He goes a bit wide in the middle of the corner. Dale Jr. is all over Clint Boyer right now, trying to get around him. He's underneath. Oh, he got into him. Big contact off turn 4. Big contact off turn 4 between Clint Boyer and Dale Jr. And luckily, both cars kept from wiping out there. Boyer got squeezed into the wall by the 81. Might see some drivers short pit as soon as that window opens to the end of the race, knowing it is a two-stopper as well. Everybody's only pitted once. You guys do get unlimited guesses in the chat for that trivia question as well. Junior was pushing hard trying to get to the 2, and he ended up right into his left rear corner panel off the exit of the corner. Boyer is hot. The answer is not Ryan Newman either. Let's have 5 more laps to try to figure out the question. Not Kurt Busch. Defensive line going towards turns 1 and 2 that time for Boyer. A little bit better in that corner than Earnhardt behind him. That crinkled up the left rear corner panel of Boyer's race car quite a bit too. You can definitely see the damage from it. Junior can kind of toy around with Boyer here too. He's got a massive 1-lap lead. Force him into a big mistake. He's trying to get to pit road right now, and he couldn't do it. Dale Jr. kept him on the racetrack. Boyer was trying to get to pit road, and Dale Jr. got into the back of him, kept him on the track for an extra lap. He should be able to pit this time, though. He really pulled away from Earnhardt after that contact. And he is going to be into pit this time. Boyer's in. He'll lose another lap. Well, we stay green, so Boyer short pitting as soon as the window opens. Trying to gain more track position. It is not Scott Riggs. Not Casey Mears. Not Stacy Compton. Not Bill Elliott or Kevin Harvick. I don't remember Harvick ever driving a Dodge. Maybe he did like right away in the Busch series. I have no clue. I always thought he was with Chevy before SHR switched to Ford. It's not Casey Atwood. The only driver to win in a Dodge at Richmond in the Xfinity Series. Only one race and one time it has been done. 110 laps to go at Richmond right now. We know Clint Boyer has pitted a second time already, but there's quite a few drivers that have not. Martin Truex Jr. also pitted very early into this run. But we continue to stay green, and Dale Jr.'s plan is to stay out as long as he possibly can right now. And he was bullying Clint Boyer. He remembers what happened at California with Boyer winning, and Dale Jr. kind of get knocked out of the way very early in that race, only about 4 laps in. Got nothing. Well, it is lap 142. I said I'd give the answer at lap 140. The Republic, welcome to the stream. He says Ryan Newman. That is not correct. The answer, it was actually really not that long ago, or at least towards the end of Dodge's tenure. It was Brad Keselowski for Penske Racing in 2010. Brad Keselowski in 2010 was the only driver to ever win at Richmond for Dodge in the Xfinity Series. 22 car. I'm surprised nobody got that. I thought somebody was going to guess him at some point. Wade says he knew it. Knew that meaning like he should have gotten it? I don't know what the timing was when you put it in the chat compared to when I said that. Yeah, I'm shocked that nobody got that, honestly. At least before I said it. In real time. A lot of you guys are like, man, should have gotten that. I think a lot of people just think like he's been in a Ford so long that he forgot that he drove Dodge. I mean, in fact, when he won his Cup championship in 2012, Penske was still racing as Dodge. As the final season Dodge was in the Cup Series is when Keselowski won his only championship. It's crazy they win the championship and then Dodge is no longer, and had good success with Ford, but he never won a title with Ford. It took until 2018 before Penske won another title with Joey Logano. Santiago Kid, welcome to the stream. Clint Boyer in the 60. Little feud at Bristol between Earnhardt and Boyer. Earnhardt got the last laugh that day. No need to retaliate on Clint right now. He kind of already did that, bumping, running him out of the way to win that Bristol race 2 races ago. Would like to put him another lap down. Boyer just came out of the pits not that long ago. We'll take our second and final field pass of the race now. Back with, that's not what I meant to do, actually. I meant to alternate through the different camera angles. My bad on that one. Didn't realize Truex wasn't that far in front of Dale Jr. either. Well, I guess he did pit already again during this run too. So alternate, 100 laps to go. 100 laps remain at the Richmond International Raceway. Dale Jr.'s led them all so far, trying to go wire to wire from the pole. Something he has only done once this season. That was at the Dodge Raceway in a 300 lap event on another flat short track. That one less than a half mile in length, though, in comparison to this 3/4 mile short track. The short tracks are going to give Dale Jr. a better shot of trying to win this championship. We still got a couple more. We have to go to Phoenix yet. Second to last race of the season. We have to go to Dover, although that is probably my worst track on this game. Dale Jr. still finished 6th at Dover earlier this season. It's not impossible that he can have a good run there. Big thing is, will we get another caution before everybody cycles through the next green flag pit stops? If we do, Boyer is not likely to finish inside the top 10 because he short pitted for his second and final stop of the day as soon as the window opened to the end of the race. So he is probably 2 to 3 laps down right now at least. Junior's only got a 1 lap lead on the field over second. The reason why he's got such a big lead again is because we had a caution in the middle of the first green flag stops where Junior was the last car in the lead lap at the time of the caution coming out at lap 111. It was the only caution we've had so far in this race today. Fairly tame by short track standards and by standards of this game, it seems like. Especially in the Busch Series side of things. Driving it in really deep into turns 1 and 2. Trying to keep this car pinned down on the bottom of the racetrack. He has cleared 1 car and looking to clear another in turns 3 and 4, and does. Closing in on the 60 of Carl Edwards once again. Junior drives it in really deep down to the bottom. Slides up into Bobby Labonte. Into the wall, and around goes Junior right in front of the 19. Just overdrove the corner. And it actually wasn't Labonte. He was on the outside of that time. It was the 184 car. And that is problematic because Junior cannot pit for fuel or tires. And we know he's a few laps short on fuel at the end of the race. He does have a 1 lap lead on the field, but he's going to have to make a green flag stop at some point in this race. That is not exactly what you needed to do in that situation where you've had such a big grasp and a lead on the field. Just pushing too hard trying to get around the lap cars. That's really all he did. Can't make any adjustment changes, nor does he really want to. 4.5 seconds worth of damage on the 81 car. That's just a mental error that championship drivers are not going to make. And that was a mistake that Dale Jr. made right there. And everybody who did not pit will be on their way in. This does trap Clint Boyer another lap down, but again, it means Dale Jr. is going to have to pit before the end of the race still. And he does have a 1-lap lead on the field, but he's obviously going to lose a lap or two under the caution. So they're not only going to get back in the lead lap, but depending on where the other cars are, I mean, he may even be a lap behind. He's definitely not going to be in the lead anymore. Green flag back in the air on the restart. And Dale Jr. drives underneath Carl Edwards initially. Quickly got down to the bottom. Going to get back around the 60. Side by side off turn 4. 89 laps to go at Richmond. Even with the caution laps, Junior is definitely not going to make it on fuel. Junior pulling. Yeah, that was a mental mistake. He just got back in the gas too soon with the car still on the outside. I mean, that's all it was. Just being too aggressive, trying to clear him, rather than taking the time when you have a 1-lap lead on the field. The 184 car's probably ticked off at Dale Jr. now, so hopefully we don't see him again the rest of this race. I don't blame him for being upset. That was just a mental error by race leader and driver second in the point standings with just 8 races to go. The only good thing that comes out of that is the fact that Boyer's trapped an extra lap down. It doesn't matter if Dale Jr. loses more positions before the end of this race. May pit fuel only just to try and save some time, but he's going to be on old tires to the end of the race if that is the case. And you wonder when you pit if you're Dale Jr. I would have to imagine you just wait, hope for another caution to come out so you can pit under the yellow. Or if a caution doesn't come out, again, he will have to pit before the end anyway. He has clean air right now, so I don't think there's any incentive for him to pit currently. Say the F-word in post-race interview, he'll lose another 50 points. I'll remember that in case I accidentally say that on a stream, future reference. Dock myself 50 points. What if I did that for, like, dock myself 25 points for every time I cuss, and if it's the F-word, it's 50. The mother of all bad words. What was the line on Christmas Story? It was the mother of all something. When his dad cussed when he was trying to change the tire. It might have been the mother of all bad words, but I don't know. It was the mother of all something. I only watch that movie once a year, and I still can't figure it out. I think if I wasn't as tired, if it wasn't as late of a stream tonight, I probably would have been able to figure it out. Maybe that's what led into that mental mistake. Later stream, I'm not as wired mentally. I mean, Junior still wins this race. Leads every lap. If we get another caution, that ends up being alright for him. Because it does trap Boyer an extra lap down. It's going to lose him a few more spots. This is a one time where Junior wrecking himself might have actually benefited himself. We don't know that 100% right now, and it's kind of a waiting game until he pits. Just keep leading laps. Hope that that caution comes naturally before the end of the race so he can pit again. And if not, he's going to have to pit under green. And it'll be an interesting strategy call. It's going to depend on how many laps we have left, how the car is handling. Obviously, he used his tires up quite a bit in the middle of that slide. And he will have to go quite a long ways on tires. It's 140 laps from when that first caution came out. That was the second yellow today that we just saw. It's a good thing he's got a lap lead on the field. It's a good thing that first caution came out when it did. Otherwise, Dale Jr. likely wouldn't even have a chance to win anymore. That's not the case. He still has a chance. Heard of Billie Jean in the Breaking Benjamin style? I feel like I might have, but I honestly don't know. If it's, like, new, Like, if it's something that they just came up with or just played, then I have not heard it. I'm interested in how that sounds, though. I feel like it'd be pretty good. They're a good band. Like a lot of their music. Be unique. Saying there's a chance. There's definitely a chance. Junior just hit halfway on fuel, and we're about to hit 75 laps to go at the line right then and there. The last time by. Can Dale Jr. still win this race? All the laps he's going to go on to lead. He's going to lead over 200 laps in this race at the time he pulls the trigger on pitting. Everybody else, they're good to the end. They don't have to pit. Junior still does. This is a race where I mentioned well in those first 100 laps that this was going to be a race that Dale Jr. would have to lose it himself if he were to lose this race. And he's put himself in that predicament, unfortunately. Smooth Criminal by Alien Ant Farm is a great song. Like, the original song is catchy, but a lot of Michael Jackson songs are catchy. I mean, let's be honest, but he was a very hooky man. Hook, line, and sinker. But yeah, no, that song is really good, though. That beat and a guitar riff is just, rather than an electric bass. I mean, it's in the name, smooth. It's very smooth. Hearing that Heat 5 might also get a 2022 season DLC. If regular NASCAR Heat 5 does somehow, if you still have NASCAR Heat 5, I'd prefer that. Is that just like PC only though, or is that for console also? I feel like that's likely only like a STEM or a PC thing. Not 100% sure, but I feel like that would be the case. Hey, Joji, welcome into the stream. Less than 70 laps to go now for Dale Jr. I mean, right now we just wait. The sooner he pits and pits for tires, the more of a chance he's got of trying to run these guys down on 4 fresh Goodyears as well, if he thinks it's going to stay green to the finish. Might only be PC. I feel like that would be the case. Lose the race myself, what happened? I got in a wreck off turn 2. I tried to clear a car too soon, and I wasn't clear off the exit of the corner and just slammed a lap car into the wall and turned myself. I just would have waited a half second longer to get back in the gas. I just would have been side by side down the back straightaway like any other time. Seemingly been in lap traffic today with it being a short track. Kind of constantly in lap traffic. Especially on the long green flag runs like we were on. And that was the second caution of the day. When it had happened, we restarted with 90 laps to go. You're playing it out for right now. When do you pull the trigger to pit? Everybody else is good on fuel to the end. They will not have to pit, so Junior will give up that 1 lap lead. Just pit now, yeah. It gives us more of a chance when we're on fresher tires. I'm just afraid of losing the lead. There was a natural yellow earlier, but it was also in the middle of green flag stops when somebody was trying to get to pit road and they ran into the tire barriers at the front of the pit road. That probably won't happen under regular green flag conditions unless they're trying to pit. I think because Dale Jr. has clean air right now, he's actually going to stay out, but as soon as he catches lap traffic, he's going to pit. So stay out while you have the clean air advantage for right now, because once you pit, you're probably not going to have it anymore. So that will be the call. He's going to stay out until he catches the dirty air and traffic. Then he'll pit on it to the end. I'm going to be ticked off if the caution comes out after we pit too. And that's the risk you pay though with short pitting. It's a much different circumstance of short pitting. It's the risk you pay. I mean, the good news is that if a caution comes out, he could at least restart on fresher tires. The field will be bunched back together. So I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if a caution came out after he pitted. It'd be more beneficial if it happened before he pit, though. And he's probably going to catch the lap cars on the next lap, I'd have to imagine. Not quite there yet. He'll stay out one more lap, and then he'll pit. Just getting into turns 3 and 4 right now. He'll stay out that time by, and at lap 193, Dale Jr. will pit this time. Lap car down on the bottom in front of him, so he'll have to deal with dirty air for one corner as they're side by side right in front of him. Are definitely a little harder to turn that time, but Dale Jr. will pit. Has to make sure he does not speed. First green flag stop of the day. Don't want to spin out either. My goodness, kind of locked the tires up a bit there. 4 tires and fuel for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Going to make sure he's going to have enough to make it to the end, which he will. And no adjustment changes. His car's been bad fast all day. He has led 193 laps. Can he still win this race after a major mistake with about 93 laps to go? Causing an accident where he spun himself off turn 2 off another lap car that he was trying to clear. Mental error, one of the few times he's even made contact with another car today. He's ran a relatively clean race, and that might be the first and only time he's even hit the wall as well in the middle of that spin. 15.4 second stop. Credit to that pit crew for making it clean and fast. Bobby Labonte is going to be the race leader. So Bobby Labonte is the race leader. Clint Boyer definitely not on the lead lap, because that pass was not for position. And he is blocking Dale Jr. right now. Jr. needs to get around him quick. He's 6.8 seconds off the lead. Labonte's got clean air, but Dale Jr.'s got fresher tires. So that's what we're looking at right now, is the clean air advantage or the fresher tires that's going to pay off for Dale Jr. as he's only back in the 4th place position. Jr. trying to get around Boyer. Boyer gets hooked. He still passes the 18. How did he drive past the 18 car that sideways after the contact from the 81? That's insane. Junior dives underneath the Yaley. Needs to get around Boyer quick. Can't waste too much time behind him. Junior's got a fast enough car to catch the leaders, and he's got the tire advantage as well. The more cars Boyer passes, the better position he's going to have in his finishing order. Labonte 7th, the points coming in with the 5 bonus points he'll get now. Junior will not go wire to wire today, but again, he has already locked up the most laps led. And Junior knocks Boyer into the wall, and he's going to get away from him. Junior toying around with Clint Boyer right now. Knocked him into the outside wall in turns 1 and 2. It drives away on the fresher tires. I'm not sure who's all in the lead lap and who isn't. Deep dive into 1 and 2. Junior barely clears Kyle Busch. And Shane Meal for that matter. Side by side into the corner. Busch goes a bit wide, kind of overdrives the corner. May clear Meal though. And he is still side by side with the 32 car. 50 to go this time by. Junior's 5.3 seconds off the lead. Junior trying to go for his 9th win of the season. Even with that mistake he made, he's still got a car that has had the speed. And even with that mistake, he deserves to win. He clearly has the quickest car. But he also deserves to lose, though, too, just because of making that mistake. Gets around Crocker cleanly. Got to get around Kenseth on the front stretch as well. 138 car now blocking Dale Jr. into turn 1. Jr. 4.1 seconds back. He is closing in very quick on Bobby Labonte. And that 138 car is for position. Dale Jr. up to P3 again. Oh, trouble. 138 car goes hard into the wall as he loses control, and the caution's out again. Just lost it right in the middle of the corner. Slammed into the 135. Looked like Shane Meal got a piece of it as well. Just got really loose. He was drifting way up that racetrack. That was right after Dale Jr. cleared him going into turn 1. He lost it right in the middle to the exit of the corner. And so caution is out for the 3rd time today. And it's after Junior pit. Oh, geez. I don't know if the dirty air might have had something to do with that. That's very interesting. And this will bunch him back up. Now Dale Jr. is going to be really close behind Labonte, and it looks like Newman is in 2nd. Green flag back in the air. And we're set for another restart. Jr. spins his tires on the restart. Not take off well in this outside lane. He's still stuck for the moment. Jr. trying to get down to the bottom. He is there. Right in front of the 135. He's got a lot of damage to the front of his car after hitting the outside wall pretty hard head on after the contact with the car who had spun. Side by side for the lead between Ryan Newman and Bobby Labonte. Junior 3-wide pass into turns 1 and 2 on Aaron Crocker. Trying to get around Kenseth. Goes down to block the 6th car. Middle of the backstretch. Crocker drives it in deep into the inside wall. Up into Kenseth on the outside. Trouble. Caution. Kenseth, Crocker around in turns 3 and 4. Our 4th yellow of the race. Caution starting to breed cautions late. Big hit for Crocker into the wall. Another couple cars slam into her. Mark Martin got a piece. Obviously, Kenseth got a piece. And that is our 4th caution of the day, back to back, and both of them were not caused by Dale Jr., but it happened with cars right behind Dale Jr. And we'll set up for another restart. Hopefully Dale Jr. doesn't spin the tires this time. Ryan Newman was barely ahead of Bobby Labonte at the time of the caution. They were side by side for the lead, and the green flag will be back in the air. 39 laps to go. Junior gets down to the bottom really quick that time. Carl Edwards gets right by Ryan Newman initially as well, trying to get a lap back. Labonte stuck on the outside. Dale Jr. going 3 wide to the inside lane. Into turns 3 and 4. He's up to 2nd, still 3 wide. Off the exit of turn 4, trying to run down Ryan Newman. Newman underneath Edwards. Junior with fresher tires. Trying to get to the lead. Newman clears Edwards. Junior to the inside of Newman. Trying to make a quick, clean pass. Clear off the exit of turn 4. Dale Jr. back in the lead at Richmond for the 2nd different time tonight. Defensive line on the backstretch right there for Dale Jr. Looking to just pull away from Ryan Newman. Bobby Labonte trying to close in yet. On the inside of Carl Edwards trying to catch Newman for potentially a 2nd place finish. One car slow on the back straightaway. Has blown an engine and is trying to make it to pit road. We'll see if the field can make their way around that lap car. And it looks like Michael Jourdain Jr. potentially was a driver who had blown an engine. I'm not entirely sure on that. Something must have happened. I don't know if it was the lab car that held everybody up. There's a big gap on the track map in the middle of the pack between cars. I would not doubt that we're going to see some debris cautions yet before the end of this race. I don't think that last restart was the last one in this entire race. I will say, though, if it stays green to the end, I don't think Dale Jr. is going to catch any lap traffic, even on fresher tires. It is smooth sailing to the end. He's had a good short and long run car. A little bit of a scare there. The cautions helped him out a little bit. I think he was going to end up catching those guys eventually, but now he's just got to stay out of harm's way if we get more restarts is the big thing. Just continue to nail the restarts and he'll be alright. Easier said than done. He did spin the tires on one restart today. Crocker drives like someone, not a man. Outsider saying she's living up to the stereotype. She was a very good dirt racer, though. Wasn't she a USAC champ? Could be wrong on that, but I think she was. I know she won some World of Outlaw races before. Sprint car series. Long time ago. Before her NASCAR days. Won like 1 or 2 races. Just not so great on the asphalt. Some drivers are able to make that transition, some aren't. Dave Blaney never really made that transition work. Tyler Walker never really made that transition work. He was really good running World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series there full time for a little bit before he tried to get into the NASCAR ranks. Craig Kinzer is another one. But then some are able to make it work, like a Casey Kane, a Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell. I don't know how much Stenhouse has of a background of that. I know he, like, when he was really, really young, he raced on dirt. I don't know what the top level he raced in prior to NASCAR was. I know he owns a couple cars in the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series right now, but I don't know if, like, he ever drove even part-time before he got into the Xfinity Series back in the early 2010s, late 2000s. You guys will have to let me know in the chat if you know or not. Junior's just hoping it does stay green to the finish. I don't think it's very likely with those 2 decent-sized wrecks we saw off the AI-related cautions. There were some hard wrecks as well. Got 4 cautions total in the race. 3 of them in the final 93 laps so far to where we're at with just 26 to go. Money on Junior, so you better win this. They need to have, like, Vegas betting sites open up some betting odds for the virtual races on this channel. Wonder what John Andretti's odds were to win that Michigan race that we DNF'd in the Cup Series. Probably like 100 to 1. He was, what, like 36th in points? We went back and looked at it after the race. Came out of nowhere. I know I DNF'd and it might have randomized the finishing order up a little bit, but it was looking like it was going to be a fuel mileage race anyway, and that might be the case when we go to California. It's an extra 100 miles compared to the Michigan race, but I wouldn't doubt that we're going to have a fuel mileage race there. I think this race went 111 laps caution free. Then we have 4 cautions in the span of about that many laps. But Dale Jr. right back to where he started this race, out in the lead. It was not really a long time coming, but I didn't think he was going to have to battle for it as hard as he has, but late cautions have led into these circumstances. He's finding himself back in another good position again. 21 laps to go this time by. Four-second lead right now for Earnhardt. We know Clint Boyer is going to finish this race a lap down. Couple of cautions in the middle of green flag stops on 2 separate occasions as Trap Boyer more than 1 lap down. 1 lap down the first time, then more than a lap down after the second stop and the second yellow. Will it be a finish outside the top 10 for him? That could allow Dale Jr. to get back to within 200 points again, or less than 200. I think there's a good shot he's going to be less than 200 out of first. I wouldn't doubt that it'll be less than 191 points out of first, which is where he was at 2 races ago in California. So even though he lost points at California where he finished 13th, he's looking to gain about that much, if not more, back. And Boyer has not led, at least Dale Jr. led 1 lap at California. Junior's got a fast enough pace. I guess the fresh tires are definitely making a huge, huge difference as well, that he may actually still catch lap traffic before the end. There's still 18 to go. And right off the exit of the corners, he's starting to see the lap cars entering the next corner in front of him as they're almost a full straightaway ahead. Junior doesn't have to worry about passing another one the rest of this race. He's looking to keep it clean to the end, especially with all the carnage we've seen late. Watch for any debris. If we do get any debris cautions, don't want to run over a piece of debris and cut a tire down late, because there are a handful of cars that are on the lead lap. Wonder where Mark Church Jr. is at in the middle of this. He's been in the top 10 all day, and up until that first caution at lap 111, he was in second or third most of the race. He too, though, has not led a lap. Will go on throughout the rest of this race, not leading a lap. I think Dover's going to be the huge make or break point for Dale Jr. this season. It was a track he struggled at, but still got a 6th place finish earlier this year. We saw him struggle in California and limped out 13th. If he can get through Dover, and if he does lose points, hopefully not lose too many points, that'll be the big hurdle to get through from now to the end of the season. Then he'll have 6 races to go after Dover to try and close out the championship and keep closing on Boyer. Nothing to worry about tonight. And right now, it looks like Dale Jr. came in. He dominated. He's about to conquer the victory. The way things are going right now. Now he's just got to survive Dover next week. And it's not going to be easy. Gambling anonymous number. Seems shady. I feel like my odds to win on a super speedway in this game would not be great. Considering well, I guess I did it once. And it was actually in the Cup Series at Talladega. The only other time we've been at Dega. A 3 wide finish at the line. Oh, we got a couple cars in the wall in turns 3 and 4. Stacking up. 10 to go. Not too far in front of the leader. Luckily, there's no caution. So we continue to stay green. Dale Jr. closing in, 3 wide into turn 3. Got a little loose, and he's going to back out of it. He's not even going to worry about trying to pass anybody. He was baited into that with those cars stacking up and slowing up after the contact between a couple of them, getting into the outside wall in 3 and 4. Closed in on him so quick out of seemingly nowhere. 9 laps to go, coming to 8 to go this time by. And he's going to go back to sit behind him in case they do end up wrecking as well, that hopefully he's not going to get caught up in. He's got 5.5 seconds back to Bobby Labonte or Ryan Newman, whoever's in second right now. It was Newman when Junior took the lead. Now another car up the track in the wall off turn 2 and the 108. And he'll lose the position out of it. These guys are all over the place at the back of the pack right now. Probably a reason why they are there. Junior lost about a half a second to the race leader that last lap, but even that pace isn't going to be quick enough to catch Earnhardt. pooped in the refrigerator watching you almost ruin this race. I mean, you can say we almost ruined it. It ended up turning out a lot easier. That caution helped. I think even if the caution didn't come out, we were probably going to catch him with about 15-20 to go. And once we got to him, I think we were going to blow around him kind of like we did, just having the fresher tire, about 30-40 lap fresher tires at the time. 5-second lead, 5 laps to go, so unless they gain a second a lap, they're not going to catch Dale Jr. And Jr.'s pacing really slow right now, trying to keep it away from the lap cars at the back of the field. Big thing is that just gives a tad bit more extra time for potential caution to come out. It really only come into play if it happened with like 2 to go and back it up his time this much. He was 0.4 of a second slower than second place that last lap. He is really backing this pace up. Seen these guys get into the wall a few times here at the tail end of the race. Caution now could end it. We did have a caution that ended the California race that happened with 2 laps to go. We did not have a green-white checker in that one. Junior pretty even with second that last lap. Wonder if there's a battle going on back there. It might be allowing Junior to maintain this gap a little bit better now. 2 laps to go. 4.5 second lead. A little less than that now into turn 1. Dominating race for Dale Jr. He's going to go on to lead over 200 laps and win this race from the pole out of 250 laps. Racing back around off turn 4. Push a little harder that time. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go. Now he can back off again. No cautions on the final lap. Doesn't have to worry about a yellow anymore. A little contact with a couple cars in front of him as well. He's hoping they don't wreck right in front of him. Seems like they've been trying to wreck the last half dozen laps. Checkered flag in the air off turn 4. Dale Jr. has swept the Busch Series races at Richmond, and he will win the Emerson Radio 250. 9th win of the Busch Series season for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Gives him the most of any other driver in the Busch Series this season. Let's go. Anita Luna, I see you in the chat as well. Thanks for tuning in tonight. And the 81 of Dale Jr. goes to victory lane. Let's check out the finishing results to tonight's race. Kenny Wallace came in and stole second on that final restart. Congrats to him. Dale Jr. led 231 laps out of 250 in today's race. All but 19 laps he led. Kenny Wallace finished in second. Ryan Newman led 5 laps today on that last restart, finishing third. Bobby Labonte led before that last restart. 14 laps led for him, finishing in fourth. And Smith ends up rounding out the top 5 in 5th place after starting deep in the field. Norton started deep in the field, finished in 6th. Shields finished on the lead lap, all virtue of those couple cautions we had in the middle of green flag stops. That those guys that qualified outside the top 20 were fantasy drivers that were able to actually get top 10s out of it. But only 7 drivers finished on the lead lap in today's race. Carl Edwards ends up finishing 8th, Irvin 9th, and Shane Meal rounds out the top 10. Clint Boyer finished, he finished outside the top 15. 17th for Clint Boyer. No laps led. 2 laps down is where he finished in tonight's race. That was after starting 5th. Ran as high as 2nd early, but his couple cautions in the middle green flag pit stops hurt him and finishes 17th, mid-pack. TJ Yaley was 4th at points, finishes 19th. Martin Truex Jr. finished outside the top 20. Truex 24th, 2 laps down. He was 3rd in points. So 1st, 3rd, and 4th in points all finished outside the top 15 today. 4 cautions for 12 caution laps, 7 lead changes, 4.7 seconds larger to victory. 1 hour, 44 minutes total time on today's race. Average speed of 107.24 miles an hour. We'll check out the point standings before we get out of here on the night. Just 7 races to go in the Busch Series season now. Kenny Wallace hates me. Well, he can get over it. He finished 2nd. He had a good run. I didn't cost him a shot to win. Dale Jr. by far had the quickest car. 200 laps at Dover, and the Dover 200 next. Oh boy. That'll be next week. I'm not looking forward to that. Dover was a pain in all 3 series the first time we were there. I do not have a setup for any of the cars at that track, so I'm definitely got to practice before that one. Try to dial it in as much as I can. Dale Jr. is now less than 200 points out of first. This is the closest he has been in points to Boyer since probably the first dozen races of the season. He was over 400 points back at one point. Now is 174 out of first on Boyer. Still just over 1 race worth of points. Now you can score 190 in a race, but you can't actually outscore somebody by 190 points. So Dale Jr., no matter what, after Dover, even if he wins, gets a max point day. Boyer doesn't lead a lap and finishes last. Boyer will still be the points leader no matter what following Dover going into the final 5 races of the season. But with 7 races to go, with 7 races to go, that's where we stand right now. Shane Meal moves up to 3rd in points, gains 2 spots today with Yaley and Truex finishing outside the top 15 and Meal getting the top 10. So 358 out of first, he is in 3rd. It's looking like a 2-horse race for the championship now with Yaley and Truex not having a great finish as well. They still lost points to Boyer, even though Boyer didn't have a great finish himself. Lowest air pressure for Dover. Just let the car on the rims. Just rim ride it all the way around that place. Yeah, if those of you who are wondering, oh, it can't be that bad, or how bad was Dover, go back and watch any of the Dover races from the Busch, the Truck, and the Cup Series, especially the Truck and Cups. I don't know how I finished 6th in the Busch race there. I kind of got lucky, honestly. I think pit strategy really played into that. We'll see how much pit strategy will play into it again. With it being the same distance, it could actually help us for the Busch side of things. Alright, that's going to wrap it up tonight. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We'll be live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow evening. I can't quite remember exactly what we have in store tomorrow. Let me check the streaming schedule real quick. I think it might be NASCAR 21 Ignition at Martinsville. It is. Oh boy, here we go. Tomorrow night, we're taking a break from NASCAR 06. We're going back to NASCAR 21 Ignition. Ladies and gentlemen, it will be the round of 8 elimination race at Martinsville. And we're 2 points below the cutoff line going into that Martinsville race tomorrow night on the channel. So be sure to tune in. It'll be a wild one. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you guys then. Again at 6 tomorrow evening. NASCAR 21 Ignition. And it could be the final NASCAR 21 Ignition full race live stream. You never know. I mean, I might not make it to the championship 4. I hope I do. I haven't won a championship in that game. I'd like to before we end it, but you got 2 races left to try and see if I can win the championship. I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your Thursday.